We've all heard the term Canadian diamond, right? It's supposed to be the ethical choice, the conflict-free guarantee. But let's be real, when you're about to spend some serious money, what's really backing up that claim? Well, it turns out there's this whole official system, almost like a secret rule book, that guarantees a diamond's journey from a Canadian mine all the way to your hand. Today, we are going to unpack exactly how that works. So picture this. You've just made that big purchase. The jeweler says it's Canadian. The certificate looks all official. But deep down, how do you really know? In a global market this complex, how can you be 100% sure its origin story is legit? That's the exact question this entire system was designed to answer.
Because, Canadian Diamond isn't just a cool marketing slogan. It's a promise of real value, of ethical sourcing, and a genuine origin story that people are willing to pay a premium for. And a promise that valuable, well, it needs some serious protection.
And this is the really incredible part. To protect that promise, it wasn't just one company or one group acting alone. It was a massive industry-wide effort. I'm talking miners, cutters, retailers, gem labs, and even government agencies all came to the table to agree on one single, rock-solid system to prove authenticity. So what did all this brain power create? They built a formal system. And yeah, it has a very official-sounding name, but it is the foundation for absolutely everything we're about to cover. They called it the Voluntary Code of Conduct for Authenticating Canadian Diamond Claims. Okay, don't let the super dry name fool you. At its heart, it's just a rule book with one single goal: to prove that a diamond sold as Canadian actually came out of a Canadian mine. And the key to the whole shebang is a verifiable paper trail, which the code calls a chain of warranties. Now, here's a little detail that's actually pretty important to understand. The Canadian government has two different labels. Product of Canada is the absolute top tier. That means it was both mined and polished right here in Canada. But made in Canada just means it was mined in Canada. It could have been sent somewhere else to be cut. The code's #1 job is to lock down that first, most important part, proving it came out of Canadian ground no matter what. So who makes sure everybody's playing by the rules? That's where the Canadian Diamond Code Committee, or the CDCC, comes in. You can think of them as the independent referees of the game. They're a nonprofit, volunteer group made up of folks from all across the industry, which means they can manage the whole system impartially. All right, now this is where it gets really cool. The code itself can look a little dense, but the best way to get it is to just follow the journey of one single diamond, from the moment it was pulled from the earth to the moment it ends up in a jewelry box. Honestly, the best way to think about it is that the code gives every single Canadian diamond its own passport, and this passport gets stamped at every single stop on its journey, creating this perfect, unbroken chain of evidence that proves exactly where it came from. And that journey really has 4 main stops. It starts, obviously, at the mine, then it moves to a cutting and polishing facility. From there, it's off to a jewelry manufacturer to be set, and finally, it lands in a retail showroom. And at every one of these steps, there are super strict rules to make sure that Diamond's passport stays perfectly in order. So the whole thing kicks off the second a batch of rough diamonds comes out of the mine. That batch, or parcel, gets a unique number, kind of like its birth certificate. And critically, the code demands that these Canadian stones be kept physically separate from any non-Canadian diamonds. No mixing allowed, period. Now, this next step is arguably the most important one. When that rough stone goes to a cutter, it gets its permanent, unique passport number. It's called the Diamond Identification Number, or DIN. This number is literally inscribed on the diamond with a laser, usually on its edge, and it becomes its identity for life. And to make sure this is all done by the book, the facilities have to get checked by a third-party auditor. And the code is so strict about this, it says right there in the rules that every single time a polished Canadian diamond changes hands, from the cutter to a wholesaler to the retailer, the official invoice must include that unique DIN. This is that verifiable paper trail in action. And from that point on, the process just keeps going. The jewelry manufacturer who sets the stone in a ring and the retailer who puts it in the display case, they both have to receive and keep those invoices with the DIN. The diamond and its passport are never, ever separated. This ensures that by the time you see it, its origin story is fully documented and totally secure. So, the The system's in place, the paper trail is all there. But how does that actually help you? Well, the entire point of all this work is to give you, the person buying the diamond, the power to check the claim for yourself. And you won't believe how straightforward it is. All you have to do is find that diamond identification number, the DIN, on your certificate or your receipt. Then you just call the official toll-free number run by the CDC. You give them the DIN, a few details about where and when you bought it, and that's it. You've officially started the trace. Now, there is a small fee for the service. Right now, it's just $25, and that's not for profit. It's just to cover the administrative work of literally tracing that diamond's passport back through the entire chain. And here's the best part. If for some wild reason the authentication fails, you get your money back. The whole system is also built to be super responsive. You get a huge window, a full 5 years after you buy the diamond, to make a request. And once you do, you're guaranteed to get an answer within 30 days. To make that happen, the code requires every single member, from your local jeweler all the way back to the cutter, to respond to an official inquiry within just 5 business days. So when you put all these pieces together, what does this system really represent? It's about so much more than just a bunch of numbers and invoices. It's really a chain of accountability. Every single person who signs on to the code, from the giant mining company to your local jewelry store, is agreeing to play by these rules and to open up their records for verification. They're literally putting their name and their reputation on the line with every Canadian diamond they sell. So why does all this matter? Well, for one, it protects you from getting ripped off. It makes sure that the extra money you paid for a Canadian diamond was actually for the real thing. But it also does something bigger. It helps uphold the integrity of the entire industry. And most importantly, it puts the power of proof right where it belongs, in your hands. Which kind of leaves us with one final, bigger question. We've just seen how this incredibly complex industry created a transparent system of proof for a tiny, valuable object. So, if a diamond can get a passport to prove where it came from, what other valuable things that we care about, from fine art to single-origin coffee to luxury watches, should have one too?